Hello and welcome in this series where I share my experiences and my journey with working as an Arab female in Egypt. I believe that I had a very unique journey because I changed 30 jobs, I changed my career 3 times, and I made more than 100 interviews. If you want to check my journey from the beginning, you can check the previous videos. So I'm Theresa Khalil, I'm a writer, a documentary filmmaker, and I spent most of my life in the Arabic world, and I've been living in Europe for the last maybe 12 years. So in the last video, I shared with you this weird extremist company that I worked in, and you can check that video. But then after I finished my time in that company, and you know how I finished, so I started thinking, okay, what to do next? And if you remember, I had a colleague with me at the time, the one I talked about in the previous video, and she suggested that we take some courses, Visual Basic, AutoCAD, and you spend 5 years in Faculty of Engineering, and then you finish, you graduate, and you still need to take more courses. Can you believe this? So from studying at the university, I didn't like Visual Basic. We already, I'm electrical engineer, computer and automatic control department. So we did have Visual Basic programming language. I didn't like it at all. But everyone was telling me that Visual C is so difficult. Maybe Visual Basic is easier. And when you find an easier language, maybe you will love programming. So I did take the course, Visual Basic, and I still didn't like programming at all. But when I took the AutoCAD, that's when I started to see that, okay, maybe this is going to work for me, because I love everything that is about drawing, At that time, I didn't know that I have creative skills or tendencies. So I take the course, the AutoCAD, and then at that time in Egypt, we had all the free vacancies were announced in the newspaper Al-Ahram, which means the pyramids. It's the most famous newspaper, or the most governmental official newspaper in Egypt at that time. I checked and I found an advertisement which needed a computer engineer that has AutoCAD skills. So I applied because it was close to my home, but when I went, I found that it was a small office, and there was the man who was the owner. He was an engineer. He wasn't that old. He was maybe in his 50s, but he had a heart problem, and he was so tired. And he was talking like, he said that I want to hire you. I want you to promise me that you are going to work with me forever, or that you are not going to leave me, because I don't have energy to train you again, to train someone else, So I really felt sorry for him, because he was like, he seemed to be struggling, but luckily I was wise even at that young age, and I told him, I can't promise you that I will work with you forever, I need to try first, though. I don't know what is the job, what is the work. I need to try first. And then he said, okay, I will give you 3 days. You come to the office. I give you an idea about what kind of job it is. And then in 3 days, you need to tell me if you are going to work with me forever or not. So I went home. I told my mother, she was still alive at that time. And then she said, okay, then start working and see. I went the next day. And in that office, there was only that guy, the owner, and the secretary. And when I went in the morning, he didn't come yet. It was only the secretary. So I was chit-chatting with her, trying to know more about the company, if she's happy at this company or not. But then as I was talking to her, I started noticing that she had a lot of teeth in her mouth, Like, it was... something was not right. Like, there was a lot of teeth. And at the time I had this seed of a documentary filmmaker. Okay, so I asked her, like, why do you have too much teeth in your mouth? and she told me her story and how that when she was at the age maybe 5 or 6, she was swinging on the swing and she fell on her head and she went into a coma. And for doctors to get her out of this coma or save her life, they gave her a medicine. And that medicine did something. So whenever she was losing a tooth, instead of having one tooth instead, she would have 3 in the same place. And that was scary, you know. It was like a horror movie. I'm sitting in this dark office with this poor young girl who have a lot of teeth in her mouth, and the owner is also not in the best condition. So anyway, the guy comes and he starts teaching me with this, like he's really like struggling, and like I discovered that the job is some kind of a water station in Africa, and we are supposed to get in touch with them and manage the things from Egypt to that water station and do some layouts and things like that, which is so boring. So at the end of the day, I just felt so depressed, you know. So I went home and I told my mother, like, I'm so depressed, I just can't go to this office again. and my mother told me, then tell the man quickly, because, you know, the man is struggling and we don't know if he has enough time to train other people. So I called him and then apologized for not being able to continue in this job. And yeah, that was a very weird interview, because it wasn't that he was interviewing me. I mean, he immediately agreed, that he was waiting for me to accept him, you know, or to give him that I will work with you, you know. And everything about this job was so weird. I finish, and then I continue looking for more opportunities and also this newspaper. And then I get another job that was not so far, but also not in the best area in Cairo. If you know Cairo, it's not like here in Europe. For example, here, majority of people are in the same social level, but in Cairo there are huge differences. There are people who are so rich, people who are so poor under the poverty line, and there are people in between. So that area wasn't the best, but anyway, so I go to the office and I do the interview, and the guy take me immediately. And he said that I will be working in electrical drawings, so it's exactly my specialization. I'm an electrical engineer. And I discovered that I'm going to use AutoCAD just to lay out the electrical drawings, or where in each apartment, where is the socket, where is the electricity, you know, those things in the wall. And there is no one in the office except the owner and me. And then there is another engineer that comes in the afternoon from 4 o'clock. And for majority of the Arab families or Egyptian families, they wouldn't accept that their daughter would work with the owner and just alone in the same office. But my family wasn't like that. For us, it was just enough that he's a respectable person, you know. And so I start working. The salary was 350 Egyptian pounds. Not that big, not that small as well. Better than my previous 200 Egyptian. And then I start learning how to do things, where to put the electrical sockets and all that. And within 2 weeks, I just get fed up, you know. Like, you spent 5 years in Faculty of Engineering, and at the end of the day, you are doing simple things that you don't need any genius to do them. So I was getting this like suffocation that I get whenever I need to quit a job. But I don't know if it's lucky for me or unlucky for him, to be honest, but the owner, he comes to the office and he's had a horrible accident at work. I don't know what happened. Something exploded in his face or something, and he's burnt. Both hands are wrapped in part of his face, and and he said that he has to close the office, and he asked me if I'm going to wait for him until he recovers, you know. And I was like, oh no, thank you so much, because I was already fed up, right? So I took this as a sign for me to move on. And I said, no, sorry, I can't wait. So good luck, get well soon. And yeah, and I just left. What I noticed in Egypt is that there is always this belief that people think that no one will hire you if you don't know someone. It's like there is corruption, and everyone are like, there is always this, I don't know, those things that people are saying all the time, that life is hard and no one can find a job unless you know someone in a good position or something like. But from my experience, that wasn't the case, because that wasn't my belief, you know. I was just, whenever I was working or wherever I go, and I find majority of the people there, they came because someone referred them, and I'm the only one who's coming from a newspaper advertisement or from Facebook advertisement, or because I'm someone who didn't believe that for you to work you need to know someone. But then at the time I was thinking I need to have my own apartment, you know. It was a dream for me. I always wanted to have an apartment because I wanted to save my mother, and this is something that I'm sharing in the memoir I'm writing now, which will be my 4th book, and it will be in English. I'm writing in English for the first time. So I go to the engineering syndicate in a hope or thinking that because everyone tell you that engineering is the best thing you can join, you know, and it's like very even here in Croatia, when I tell someone that I'm an engineer, they really look at me with as if they are impressed, you know. I thought that, okay, maybe there is a reason why people are impressed because I'm an engineer. Why everyone is promoting the idea that engineering and being a doctor is the best thing you can do. So I thought maybe because you can get an apartment easily, for example. So I went to the engineering syndicate and I asked about apartments. And I discovered that no, actually, there is nothing special about being an engineer, and that you have to pay a lot of money like everyone else. But as I was there, I discovered that they are making an engineering magazine, and you can put an advertisement with your photo, your qualification, your skills, and it's something called like engineering market or something. And if a company needs an engineer, then they can contact you, and you can do that for free. So because it was just starting, so I immediately put an advertisement, and I will tell you what happened from that advertisement in the next video. And that is my story as a female Arab working for today. Tell me in the comment below, what do you think of this series? Do you like it? Do you have any questions? What was the most weird interview you ever had? Write me the story down in the comment. And finally, if you want to support my creations, don't forget that I have listening sessions. If you have something on your mind, something is burdening you, you have questions that you need to question loudly, all this you can do in a safe space without judgment in a listening session, and more details in the description box. Also, don't forget that I have 90 days journey to living a more healthy, calm, conscious, and creative life, which I'm sharing in a journal. Fukaira journal in English and Arabic. It has health tips, mindful exercises, and creative challenges. And it's available on all Amazon. Links are in the description box as well. And see you in a coming video.